Let's see, when were you born?
February the 9th, 1922.
1922. Where? Right here in West Frankfort?
Yes.
Wow. All right. 1922. And I guess we can look at the first one here. Being around in the 20s, I guess you had some idea about what the Great Depression was like.
Well, yes.
What do you remember from it? I know it was a while ago, wasn't it?
Well, it started, I think, in about 1932, I'm going to guess.
All right.
Is that right? Do you know that?
1929 is when the stock market crashed, and then...
Okay, that's about when it started.
Right.
Well, I was only 7 years old in 1929, so being that young, I don't remember too much about it.
Mm-hmm.
I accepted things as they were. I thought that's the way things were supposed to be.
Right.
Never realized that people had a dollar.
Mm-hmm.
I thought everybody was poor.
Right.
And everybody was, literally.
And I assume $1 back then, you say, is worth a lot more than $1 today, right?
Oh, I never saw $1 back then.
That's a lot of money.
Yeah.
That's something that people really have to remember.
Yeah.
Did your family? You said you didn't really notice too much difference. Did your family make any changes? Did maybe your brothers or sisters or cousins live with you from time to time?
Well, my brother John was the oldest. He was born in 1915.
Mm-hmm.
So in 1929, he was already 14 years old. Whether he remembered anything about it, I don't know.
Right.
But he was in St. John's School at that time.
Mm-hmm.
That's about when he graduated, I think.
Really?
Yeah, 1929.
Oh, well, that's a tough year to graduate.
Yeah.
We've kind of talked about the best and worst memories. You know, you were so young that they're kind of away from you.
Yeah. Well, the Depression lasted until the war broke out in 1941.
Right.
Things began to get a little better because people were getting jobs in factories building war materials.
Right.
Whatever the war effort needed, they were building them. So they had jobs at that time.
Very good. All right. And you said Dziadus is spelled a little funny, and your parents, you said, were from
Poland.
Poland.
And they spelled the name Dziadus.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and it was pronounced Dziadus in Polish.
Dziadus.
Dziadus. And when I went to St. John's School, all the nuns pronounced it Dziadus.
Mm-hmm.
Never had to tell them from one year to the
Right.
next. They were pretty smart people,
Mm-hmm.
really. And I'm not trying to just give them credit for being smart. They were really smart.
Right.
Well, okay. And I can tell you how I got the spelling changed and the pronunciation of the name changed. I might have remembered to tell you, or did I tell you that
I think you did.
I went to, after I graduated from St. John's, I went to the high school, and I don't know how soon after I was in school, I had to pay some book rentals or whatever. I had to go to the office upstairs. Mr. Sullivan was the principal, and he says, "What's your name, Sonny?" And I said, "Stanley Dziadus." And he went over to the card file, and he's looking for my name, I guess, and he came back scratching his head, and he says, how do you spell that name, Stan? And I said, Dziadus. He said, "Oh, I've been looking in the J's. Dziadus." And then he continued to look at the name. He said, "Why don't you take the Z out of it and spell it Diadus and pronounce it Dziadus?" I said, "Well, that's okay with me. It didn't matter to me."
Right. So if you weren't fighting, then most likely you were working in one of these factories, right?
Well, not me.
Well, not you, but
people were, yeah.
Right, the civilians were.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's how the Depression was broken, I'm going to say.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because we were in a big, big depression. And it's so bad that, like I might have told you before, that when I went to school, there was a store on the corner here, and I liked to eat an apple on the way to school. And I'd say, "Mom, can I have a penny? Because I could buy an apple for that penny." Well, she'd say, "Sorry, son, I don't have it." Had she had a penny, she would have given it to me to buy that apple to eat on the way to school.
1 penny.
One penny.
We don't think that much about them today.
No, I could show you. I got 2 5-gallon buckets full in there. They're all copper pennies. I save them because eventually our government's going to allow us to melt pennies, and they might be worth more than face value. I might make 2 cents off of it.
Might be right.
Yeah.
Let's
April 11th, 1926.
1926. So that makes you how young now?
83.
83 years
Yeah.
young. What do you remember about the Great Depression?
I remember going to bed hungry many a night. I remember growing up, and they started what they called surplus food. We got grapefruits and prunes and raisins and beans and stuff like that. But you had to go to the point where they were giving them away. And by then, I was in grade school, probably in the 3rd, 4th grade, and it was quite common for us boys in my homeroom. There was between 30 and 33 people in the classroom. It was quite a big classroom, but on the day they give surplus food out, why, we had no boys usually in our class. Everybody had their cart and went to get surplus food. And it's like I say, if it hadn't been for that surplus food, why, we would have went hungry many a day.
They passed that out at school?
No. We got ours up here on Lincoln Street, the old depot building.
Okay.
And there was a line of people, probably 6-8 blocks long.
Really?
Yep. And it got to where any time there was a line and I saw it, I'd just jump into it. Figured it's giving something away.
Just wherever, huh?
Yeah.
That's kind of how people got by everywhere, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it was quite common. Yeah.
Come here, you're going to go outside and bark at what's your name?
Put him out.
I'll put it out. Just out the front door?
Yeah.
Just let him go.
If you go.
Come on, Patches.
Hey, Patch. We'll go outside.
Now he'll be sitting at the door barking because he knows somebody's in here.
So any changes within your family? I know, sometimes maybe grandparents would live with you. Did you have any changes in your family?
But my grandfather had my uncle and his children that lived with him. My grandfather Broy, and it was quite a big family of them. But they all made it pretty good.
Really? Well, that's good. And I guess everybody kind of stuck together to get through that.
Yeah, they sure did.
Did you have any best and worst memories from the Great Depression? What was your best memory from it? Your favorite memory, I guess I should say.
My best memories was when I could get a hold of a dime and go to the State Theater.
Really? And
yes.
Dime wasn't that easy to come by back then,
wasn't. No, it wasn't. I know we had an old coal mine over here in the neighborhood, about 2 blocks over there. And we'd go over there, and they was always chasing us off because we was always picking stuff up that we could take and sell for junk.
Mm-hmm.
And but we did get a lot of our show money over there at the coal mine.
Just picked up the stuff and took it to the junkyard to get some.
Mm-hmm. We had a junk man by the name of Fats Weniger. He was an old man, and he was crippled, but he had this here horse and a little wagon, and he went up and down the alleys, and all the kids knowed when he come, and he would buy this junk from us.
Really?
Yeah.
Probably not junk to everybody, because he could probably sell it for a little bit more than he gave you.
Oh yeah. He made a profit off of it. Yeah.
What was your worst memory from the Depression era? Do you have a?
Well, worst memories was going to bed sometime with that gnawing in your stomach and it not being full, but
What would you typically eat? I know you said you got the handouts.
Beans.
Beans. Lots of beans.
Beans. Lots of beans. I remember going to Central School, and we got off about 15 minutes of 12, and we had to be back in class by 12:30. And it was about a mile from Central School to my house, which is next door here. And I'd make it home running, but it's hard to get back.
Your beans.
I mean, them beans was heavy. Yeah. But there was no meat or nothing to put in them, and it's usually cornbread or biscuits, one of the two. And I guess we were fortunate because we had a cow, and we did have milk.
It's important for little kids especially.
Oh, yeah.
All right, if you want to skip down to the World War II, we'll kind of talk about that for a few. Oh, I'm sorry, what was your birthday again?
June the 4th, 1918.
1918, which makes you how many years young?
I'm 92 years old.
92 years, we'll say young.
That's before you were born.
Just a few years, just a few years. First off, before we talk about World War II, number one there, what do you remember about the Great Depression?
It was rough,
Rough.
yeah. And everybody had a garden.
Everybody had a garden.
Yes,
Boy, my grandpa, until the day he died, he was a World War II guy, but he planted a garden, seemed like every summer.
yes, yeah.
Why'd they do that?
And because they can't afford to buy the fruit or food or anything. And then WPA come along, and I was in the CCs into Decatur, New Salem State Park, and then I went to Idaho, Du Bois, Idaho, and I think I was there altogether about 3 years, and then I come on home, and I talked to a friend of mine, and he joined the Navy, and he talked me into going.
Really?
There was 4 of us that went for examination, and 3 of us made it, and the 4th one, he had a heart murmur.
Really?
And so then we went to Great Lakes for training, and we had to sign up for 6 years.
That was in 39, before the war.
1939, before the war.
And so anyway, after that, we were assigned our ships, and I asked Chief, he was the captain of our class, and I asked him what kind of ship it was. He said, well, I don't know what ship it was, but it sounded like it's a bathtub, and he was kidding me.
Right.
But he was a good officer.
Go. I don't think you were born yet.
No.
No, well, yeah.
Not quite, huh? We talked about the Great Depression. I was just going to look at number 2 there. Did you make any changes within your family during the Depression years?
Yeah. You didn't have the money,
Right.
and you depended on your garden. And then they had WPA, they had CCs, and we got along okay. Yeah, we didn't have the money to spend like we have now, but anyway, it's still a good country.
Right.
I remember the Depression real well, and what I remember is that Lisa Grocery brought us at Christmas time oranges and grapefruits and bananas. And, oh man, that was really...
That's a nice Christmas present. And
yes.
Kids might not think of that today unless they can play it as a video game. But back then things were a lot different. Warren Sloan, I did an interview with Warren. You know Warren, don't you?
Yeah.
He said they were lucky because they had a cow. So he had fresh milk a lot, and
That's
not
right.
a lot of
Yes,
people
yeah.
did.
We
So he
did
was.
too.
Did you
We had a
too?
cow and we had pigs.
Yeah,
Oh,
we had a cow too.
Did you?
We had ducks and geese. We had pigs, had fresh meat. And it seemed like the people just just
Everyone in our
made out with it.
Just made it. You know, they took it as that's what it was, and they went on, right?
Yeah.
And you walked to town. You didn't drive because you didn't have a car.
Well, of course, right, of course. And probably the first car was what? Was it a Model T?
Well,
Model T for your first car? Can you think back that far? The first family car?
Yes. Well, after I come in from the Navy, I joined the American Legion. We had a 1917 Model T. Yeah, and we went to Chicago on a conference there. They had a big deal. And what we did there, I'm not even going to mention it. Yeah.
he still has a 1930 Model A.
Really?
It's really
Wow.
neat.
It would be neat.
My mom's.
Number 3, do you have any best and worst memories of the Depression era?
Huh?
Do you have any best and worst memories of the Depression era? Number 3 there.
Uh-huh. No, it's just we had to adjust our way of living.
He's right that
Yeah.
people didn't know we were poor. I mean,
Yeah.
we didn't think so.
See,
No
they
one-
mostly
Everyone was poor.
Yeah.
depended on coal miners at that time.
Mhm.
And they did okay. And then when the Depression came along, Roosevelt decided he would go ahead and start this WPA, NRA, the CCs, and things like that. It was government sponsored and so on and so forth.
All right. Well, we talked about number 1 in great detail, and
Yeah.
and number 2 too.